Hi, my name's Steve Ressel, and I'm the producer-director of Invasor Zim, doing a voiceover track about the episodes. This was the first episode, The Nightmare Begins, and it was penned by Jonah and Rob Hummel. It was always supposed to be the first episode of the series, as you'll see by the story, and it debuted, I believe, the last day of March in 2001. It was always supposed to be a very cinematic show. We wanted to make it like a movie. And when I was brought onto the crew, I was brought on for that reason, and I could do 3D, and I was just cut apart from the rest of the business, which was usually into doing very flat, cartoony stuff, or really boring action-adventure stuff. So I wanted to really make this look like a film. The first part's done by Kyle Menke and Sean Murray, and it leaves my name off. I actually had thumbnailed out almost the entire first half of this show, and I had thumbnailed out bits and pieces over the entire show. If there's one show in the series that was mine, it's this one. I had the most influence over this episode, and I was really proud of it. It also won awards. It was the only episode so far that's won awards. This opening section here was done by Kyle Menke, with direction by myself. And it really was... It was really a break into how 2D and 3D worked for just a TV show, because you have a very limited budget. And it's very easy to make it work if you got the money. But with the help of John Soar and Hansi Tang and our entire 3D department, we got this whole thing running. I believe this is where I started to pick up with my thumbnails, and I went through almost the entire show. Kyle did these action sequences, and Kyle was supposed to be the action sequence guy. I divided up the board staff back then into two departments. There was action guy who would have a smaller amount of time to do a smaller section, which was all action or visuals, and then the guys that would handle the rest of it, just the normal board artists. I remember reading this in the script, and I thought the script was excellent. I loved the way it was handled by Rob and Jonah. They were really thinking, and Rob was always trying to figure out structure and make things work, have things make sense, and Jonah was always trying to add fun dialogue and interesting situations and turns on things. It was very unconventional also, because most cartoons you end up just bringing in the main character right away. This cartoon was just like a movie. You sort of develop in through a bunch of interesting visual points. You have the viewer asking questions, wondering what they're watching, and then the character comes in actually a ways later. So I think Zim comes in about halfway through this first half. The tallest to me were always a little bit boring. I thought their dialogue always went on too much. It was sort of a lot of blabbing, and wanted to see more visuals, wanted to see more character. While they have character, it wasn't exactly, like strong characters or extremely strong characters like Zim or Gur. But I still enjoyed the interplay. This episode was animated by Chow Lee Han overseas, and we were very pleased with the way that this episode came back. Usually a first episode of a series looks really horrible, and to this day, even as after the artwork got better, it still looks like a very good episode, and it plays very well. Got a lot of kudos. Kyle won his storyboard Emmy for this episode, and I won an Annie for storyboarding this episode. Great little jokes there. I love the sort of like little asides that Jonah would throw in. There was a lot of really technical stuff going on, and we tried to make everything work. All these pieces of equipment, all the technical stuff, we had to figure out and actually make work. Jonah wanted that, and I agreed. I think that's an excellent choice. Usually in cartoons or movies, there's a lot of stuff that just works by pure magic, and we actually figured out exactly how everything fits together, how everything works, and there's a function and a reason for everything that happens. These invaders are nice. They come back later. It's actually a very difficult section to stage right here, because you have so much going on. You have a huge crowd. You have these two up on a big stage, and you have all these invaders around them, very spread out. Our 3D. Now here's Scooge. At this point, we didn't have Ted Raimi doing the voice. He doesn't have any lines in this episode. But later on, he became a bigger character. He was going to become a very big character after the second season, or into the second season. A lot of very tricky shots. a lot of animation magic sort of shots. We were combining pans with wipe cells and stuff like that, so we can go in directions that you usually can't. A piece of animation paper is rather linear, and you can't do L-shaped pans. And we were doing a lot of L-shaped pans in the show using these wipe frames, wipe cells of people's backs or spaceships or something else. It's kind of funny. Richard Horvitz was he was the voice of Zim, but he ended up doing the voice in his normal cadence. And what happened was, after he got used to the show, pitching up his voice, we used to pitch up his voice to make it into what you hear here. He started to actually record the voice at that pitch, and we wouldn't have to pitch his voice anymore. But it happened very slowly, so incrementally we had to lessen the pitch on his voice. Here's a sequence, really difficult. I was sweating my ass off watching this go through. Kyle Menke came up with it, and I knew this could work, but I wasn't sure exactly how it could be pulled off, and needed help from the 3D department. Could map everything out, but I didn't know their capabilities. And that whole footstep onto the ship, and then that pan around through the city, and you're going up around him and around the robot and into the head. Could still use some refining to this day, but it was really well done. All the mechanicals are 3D. That's a 3D robot. The robot's always 3D. The spaceships are 3D in this episode. Now, originally around here there was a piece that was cut out when they give Zim the sandwich. There was a piece, the digestor sequence, that was cut out. I think that's the only major chunk that was cut out of this show from the original script. At least the original script when I came on and saw it. The show was just too long, and digestor was the only thing I could figure to cut for time. Jonan originally wanted to cut every visual and have nothing but the dialogue. And I told him, I said, that's the way every show has ever gone that I've ever seen. Every show I've ever worked on in the business basically cuts their visuals in order to accommodate dialogue, and the shows end up becoming really boring. But Digestor was a really simple cut. Originally what happens is Zim gets transported here after this protest, gets transported with a little hoop into an arena where the tallest are watching, and a huge beast comes out called Digestor and hassles Zim, and he basically bargains his life for the sandwich, gives Digestor the sandwich, he runs away, and he wins this last test, and then has to become an invader. It was a nice sequence. It was well done. Never animated, though. The dialogue, you can tell, once Zim got into the scene here, once he came into the show, the dialogue of the tallest really flow. It's really nice little jokes. They're working off of each other. And this is where the show starts for me. Everything, as you can tell from the angles, everything was an angle. We're always trying to do perspectives, interesting compositions, not just characters standing side by side looking straight towards camera. Everything seems bent or tweaked. And here comes one of the scenes that used to blow people away when we first did it, and we've done it many times since, but you're just going through the whole universe down into this dish. And originally there was a piece there that was cut out, a visual piece, where we go down into the dish and through the wires and then out through the screen to see Dib. There's a nice little piece of animation that was cut out there, too, that Jonah didn't want, which was Dib spiraling around the bar going down towards the window. I kind of miss it being cut out. It was actually a nice piece of animation. Jonah thought that it made Dib look too heroic. This sequence was actually... This was done by Jonah, and I think Sean Murray originally did it, and Jonah wanted to do it himself. A lot of the board artists had to get up into the style of this show. Sean was one. He was very used to doing very bland, eye-level stuff. And he wasn't very good at this point. So a lot of assistance by Jonan and myself to help him get through. He became one of our better board artists, though, and learned fairly quick, as did the whole crew. You can see that one shot coming down that room. It was almost an insert shot. If you look at a long shot of this room they're in, it looks like a phallus and scrotum poking into a hole, basically a vagina. And it's one of those very sexual... visuals from Zim. Although you can't tell it when you see it in these shots that are cropped so close.